Good morning everybody. Myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today I will discuss about pressure difference in a rotating tube. So here we have a rotating tube which is rotating about an axis passing through the end and perpendicular to the length of the tube. So liquid will be forced to come out because of the centrifugal force. So in static conditions, the forces on an elemental part of the fluid will be towards the center because it's moving in a circle, so centripetal force is required. So the concept for this derivation is that the pressure difference will apply a force on the element towards the center, and that force will give it the centripetal force required for rotation. So suppose dP is the pressure difference, then we have force as dP into A, and it will provide the centripetal force, so that will be equal to dm x omega square, as mr omega square is the centripetal force. Here mass is dm, radius is x, and omega is omega obviously. Now dm can be written as density into volume, and volume can be written as area into length. So using this expression we can write dm is equal to rho a dx into x omega square. So this is dp. We just integrate it from the limit p1 to p2, and here the limit is from 0 to L. So after all the calculations, the pressure difference comes out to be rho omega square L square by 2. Now let's see the graphs. So the first thing is the graph between delta p and rho will be a straight line. Here we have assumed that omega and L are constant. Similarly, the graph between delta p and omega will be a parabola because it's proportional to omega square. Here we have assumed that rho and L are constant. Similarly, graph between delta rho and L will also be parabola. Here we have assumed that rho and omega are constant. So in this way we can derive it, and we can also analyze them graphically. So make sure that whatever you study, focus on the quality of that information. Study in a way so that you are able to retrieve it as and when needed. The problem with students is they study anything, but when it is the time to retrieve that, they fail to retrieve that information from their mind, because of which they are not able to solve the problems, because of which they are not able to get selected. So if you want to get selected and be successful in today's dynamic world, make sure that you learn the information in a way so that you are able to retrieve it as and when needed. Thank you and have a nice day. Good morning everybody. Myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today I will discuss moment of inertia of a road in different cases. So suppose we are given a uniform road having length capital L, and it is represented as AB. So the first axis is an axis which is perpendicular to the road and passes through the head. So moment of inertia is ml square by 3. It is proportional to L, m if L is constant, so graph will be a straight line. And it is proportional to L square if m is constant, so graph will be a parabola. Next we have, if we tilt the axis so that it makes an angle theta with the road, then moment of inertia is ml square by 3 sin square theta. In the very same way we can say that I is proportional to L, so straight line graph, I proportional to L square, parabolic graph, I proportional to sin square theta. So it will be like that. It is maximum when theta is equal to 90, as you can see from the graph. In the third case, let the axis of rotation passes through the center of the rod. So moment of inertia is ml square by 12. It is proportional to L, graph will be a straight line. Proportional to L square, graph will be parabola. So if I draw the graph between I and M, it will be a straight line. Whereas if I draw graph between I and M, it will be a parabola. If we tilt the axis so that it makes an angle theta with the rod, then I is ml square by 12 sin square theta. Proportional to M, proportional to L square, proportional to sin square theta. So that will be the graph. So you have seen that information that you have learned must be in a systematic way. Without systematic information, you won't be able to retrieve that when you will solve your questions. So focus on quality of your working, quality of mind. It's not quantity of questions, it's the quality of questions that determines your success in exams. Thank you and have a nice day. Good afternoon everybody. Myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. आज से बात करूँगा आपसे लॉ ऑफ कंजर्वेशन ऑफ मोमेंटम के बारे में. सो let's suppose that there are n particles having position vectors r1, r2 up to rn. So we know that the position vector of center of mass of the system is m1 r1 plus m2 r2 plus so on up to mn rn divided by m1 plus m2 plus so on up to mn. Now I differentiate the left hand side and right hand side with respect to time. So I get d upon dt of RCM is equal to d upon dt. I write this expression in mathematical way as sigma mi ri, I is equal to 1 to n divided by sigma m. Now we know that differentiation of position vector gives us velocity. So we have velocity is equal to 1 upon sigma mi, I is equal to 1 to n and d by dt of this thing. So after all the calculations, we have Vcm is equal to 1 upon sigma mi, I is equal to 1 to n, sigma mi vi, I is equal to 1 to n. So this I take over there and we have sigma mi, I is equal to 1 to n into velocity of center of mass. This is equal to sigma mi vi, I is equal to 1 to n, and I can write it as the momentum of the system. So what I have is mass of system multiplied by velocity of center of mass is equal to the momentum of the system. Now if velocity of center of mass will be constant when acceleration of center of mass is 0, which will be possible when external force on the system is 0. So momentum of system will remain constant because momentum of system is mass of system multiplied by velocity of system, and velocity of center of mass is constant. So we have momentum of system as constant. So we can say that in absence of external forces on a system, the momentum of the system remains conserved. That is, initial momentum of the system is equal to the final momentum of the system. So this is how we can write it as if F external is equal to 0, then BI system is equal to BF system. The law of conservation of momentum finds use in many applications like recoiling of well, man-boat problem, rocket propulsion. In many ways it finds applications. So hope it worked for you. Thank you and have a nice day. Good evening everybody. Myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Let's discuss today about the linear thermal expansion. So anything generally expands on heating. There are certain exceptions to this also, but generally things expand on heating because when you heat something, you supply energy to it, and the atoms and molecules vibrates with larger amplitude. So the distance increases, as an impact the size increases. So suppose that there is a rod of length L and the temperature is T is equal to T1. So if you increase the temperature to T2, its length will change. Suppose the final length is L plus delta L. So we have a mathematical relation that delta L is equal to L alpha into T2 minus T1, which is L alpha into delta T. So delta L is L alpha delta T, where alpha is called coefficient of thermal expansion. It has got dimensions M0, L0, T0, T minus 1, and SI unit has Kelvin minus 1. So we can see that delta L is proportional to L, so graph will be a straight line. Delta L is proportional to alpha, straight line. Delta L proportional to delta T, straight line. So if we see the graphs, all the graphs will be straight lines passing through the origin. So in this way you can solve your questions quickly. Make sure that whatever information you learn that with proper system and with proper interconnectivity, so that you are able to retrieve it as and when needed. Thank you and have a nice day. Good evening everybody, myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today I will discuss about law of gravitation. So as you might be knowing that universal law means it is applicable in the entire universe. It's a long range force. Stars, galaxies, the universe itself, all the masses are bounded by gravitational forces. So it's one of the key factor to bind the entire universe, to bind the entire space-time curve. So let's discuss this law of gravitation in a scalar and vector form. The first thing is a scalar form. Suppose we have 2 point masses m1 and m2 and they are separated by a distance r. So gravitational forces are attractive forces. So this mass will apply a force on this mass towards it, and similarly this mass will apply a force on this mass towards it. And the magnitude of the force is Gm1 into by r square, where G is equal to 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meters per kg minus 2, and it is called universal gravitational constant. Let's look for some mathematical relationship between the parameters. The first is magnitude of force and m1. So as we can see from the relation that if m2 and r are constant, then f is proportional to m1. That means the graph between f and m1 will be a straight line. Similarly, if we look for the relation between f and m2, then we can see that if m1 and r are constant, then f is proportional to m2. So the graph again will be a straight line. If we look for the relation between f and r, we can see that f is proportional to 1 by r square when m1 and m2 is constant. So graph between f and r will be a rectangular hyperbola. Let's look for the vector form of this law. Suppose m1 has a position vector vector r1 and m2 has a position vector vector r2. So I draw a vector from m1 to m2 and name it as vector r21. So on mass m2, m1 will apply a force towards it. I represent it by vector f21, and on m1, m2 will apply a force towards it. I name it as f12, and mathematically the relation is that vector f21 is minus gm1 m2 upon r21 cube into vector r21. So if we replace vector r21 by unit vector, so we can see that vector r21 will be magnitude of r21 into unit vector. So we have vector f21 is minus gm1 into by r21 square into r21. So in this way, there are two popular forms and you can use them. Thank you and have a nice day. Good evening everybody. Myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today I will discuss heat transfer. Suppose there are two points, point 1 and point 2, or maybe two surfaces. One is maintained at a temperature T1 and another is maintained at a temperature T2 by some external mechanism, and they are connected by a conducting rod of length L. So it will flow from higher temperature to lower temperature. Since the rod is conducting, so near the outer ends, electrons will have more energy. They will collide with another electrons, and due to this collision, energy will be transferred across the conducting rod. So in steady state, the heat rate or the energy transferred across any cross section is same. So the input heat current is equal to the output heat current. This concept we will use to solve this question and to find the temperature of any point on the rod in steady state. So let's proceed systematically. So suppose this body has a temperature T1, this body has a temperature T2. They are maintained at T1 and T2 by some external source, and they are connected by a conducting rod having length L. Let's find the temperature of a point P on the rod. Let's assume the temperature is T. So obviously T will be lesser than T1 and greater than T2. So heat will flow from this point to this point, and the heat flow from this point to this point can be written as H1, and from this point to this point can be written as H2. So in steady state, H1 is equal to H2 because temperature is same, is constant. So input heat should be equal to the output heat. We know the expression of it is Ka upon T1 minus T2. So here Ka upon the length is X and the difference of temperature is T1 minus T. For this system, we can write it as Ka by L minus X into T minus T2. After all the calculations, the result is T is equal to T1 minus X by L, T1 minus T2. So this is a straight line curve with positive intercept and negative slope. So graph will be like that. At X is equal to 0, temperature is T1, and at X is equal to L, temperature is T2. So this will be the graph. Suppose this angle is theta, this angle is alpha. So from the standard equations of slope, we can say that tan theta will be T1 minus T2 by A, will be minus of tan alpha. At X is equal to 0, temperature is T1, X is equal to 1, temperature is T2. This can be verified from the figure itself. So I hope it worked for you. So whatever you learn, make sure you learn it with proper system so that you are able to remember it, retrieve it and use it as and when needed. Thank you and have a nice day. Good evening everybody. Myself Vishvendra, I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today we will discuss discuss about elastic potential energy density stored in a stretched wire. Suppose there is a wire. When you stretch it, internal restoring forces are developed in the wire, and because of which potential energy is stored in the wire. So we shall look for the derivation and the expression for that. So the expression for the stored potential energy is half into stress into strain into volume. So energy per unit volume will be half into stress into strain. Now we know that Young's modulus is stress upon strain. So stress will be Y into strain. So we can write energy density is equal to half Y into strain square. We can conclude two things. The first is E is proportional to Y. That is Young's modulus, and the graph will be a straight line. And the second is that E is proportional to strain square. So the graph will be a parabola. Now it can be expressed in another terms. So E is equal to half into stress into strain. So strain can be written as stress upon Y. So E is equal to half into stress by Y. That is E is equal to stress square by 2Y. So if we draw the curve between E and stress, it will be a parabola. And between E and Y, it will be a rectangular hyperbola. So these were some of the terminologies that how things can be related. So you have seen that whatever information you learn, make sure you learn it in a systematic way so that you are able to retrieve it. This is the only difference between a successful and unsuccessful student. Our mind is a data storing device. At every moment of your life, data is being stored in your mind. So if you know the system, data is being stored in a systematic way, then you will keep on working. You will be successful. And if you don't know the process, something wrong is there. You don't know the process how to store information in mind, then you won't be able to succeed because you won't be able to retrieve because your mind don't know how to access that information. I hope it works for you. Thank you and have a nice day. Good morning everybody, myself Vishvendra, the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today we shall discuss about potential energy stored in a spring. So let's start with the physics of the situation first. So you have seen that when you stretch a spring or compresses it, internal restoring forces are developed in the spring. And potential energy of the spring changes because of change in internal distances. So it's because of interatomic forces because of which elastic potential energy changes. And that energy is retrieved when you connect that system to a mass. So you just stretch a spring, connect it to a mass, just leave that. What will happen? The mass will gain a kinetic energy. So it is because of the potential energy stored in the spring and which is itself stored in the space-time level. Every source of energy is in the space-time level itself. So let's now discuss the mathematics of the system. So suppose there is a mass capital N which is connected to a spring of a spring constant K. So this potential energy by proper derivation it comes out to be U0 plus half kx square, where U0 is potential energy of the system when system is in equilibrium. U is potential energy of a spring when extension is x, k is spring constant, x is extension or compression in the spring. Now let's discuss the graphs. So the graph between u and x at constant x will be a parabola, as you can see from here. So three cases are possible. If u0 is positive, the vertex will be here. If u0 is 0, it will cross the origin. If u0 is negative, it will cut the u-axis at this point. So in this way you can draw the graph. We also can draw the graph between u and k. So if x is constant, the graph between u and k will be straight line because u and k are related by a single degree equation. So this will be the graph. Based on the values of u0, we have three graphs possible. Suppose it makes an angle theta, then tan theta is equal to x square by 2. So this is how you have seen that how information should be stored on your mind. Make sure that whatever you learn one word, one line, one para, one page or even one book. Whatever you learn, make sure that you learn in a proper and systematic way and practice again and again so as to ensure that you have strengthened your memory circuits so that you can retrieve that information when it will be asked. Most of the students fail in competitive exams because their mind don't have the capacity to retrieve the information. They forget what they studied when they appear for the test and they are not able to perform. The successful students are very clever. They practice again and again to retrieve information from their mind, which is the only difference, the only secret between successful and unsuccessful students. So decode the secret and end up with flying colors. Thank you and have a nice day. Good morning everybody, myself Vishvendra. I am the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today we shall discuss about the physics and mathematics of relative velocity. So the first thing is, what is velocity? How do you know that something is moving? What an answer. You know something is moving if you feel that there is a change in position of that object. So whatever we say, there is a reference for that. We say something because of the image present in our mind, image or videos present in our mind. So there is a term used in physics called as with respect to. So with respect to means the frame, the person who is observing the events of universe, the video created in his mind. So it's the meaning of with respect to. Suppose there is a road. On the road there is a tree. And there is a car moving to the right with a velocity v. There is a person A sitting in the car and there is a person B standing on the road. Both are observing the tree. So with respect to the person on the road, light is entering into his mind and a video is created in his mind. And in his video, he will observe, he will see that tree is at rest. So if you ask him, is the tree at rest or motion? He will say it is at rest. Because he say that on the basis of the video in his mind. Now let's take the example of A. So A will say something because of video in his mind. So A will observe the tree to be moving in a backward direction with a velocity v. As you might have seen, if you are sitting in a car, it is moving forward. Then if you look back on the tree present on the ground, it will be observed to be moving backward. So with respect to the image in the mind of A, he will observe tree to be moving to the left with velocity v. So this is how physics works for relative velocity. So another thing is, with respect to A means the video present in the mind of A, and with respect to B means the video present in the mind of B. This is the root cause of every problem. People don't know the truth. They believe that the video present in their mind is the truth, but it may be fake. Whatever you see, whatever information is given to your mind, that depends on the circumstances. Suppose you are observing the color of my shirt, it's yellowish in nature. It is because light is falling on my shirt, it is being reflected, it is entering into your eyes and your mind is creating an image. But if you see the same shirt in some different color, let's say red color, it will appear black. Because my shirt is not reflecting red color, so no color will reach to your eyes, so it will seem to be completely black. So whatever you considered as truth, as color of my shirt, it's just an illusion of your mind, which is the root cause of every problem. So let's constrain my restrictions to mathematics. It's better to don't cross the domains and enter into philosophy. Let's look back into mathematics. So suppose the point A has a velocity vector VA, the point B has a velocity vector BB. So the mathematical definition of velocity of B with respect to A is vector BB minus vector VA, where VB is velocity of B with respect to A, VB is velocity of B with respect to ground, and VA is velocity of A with respect to ground. That means if you need to find the velocity of any point with respect to any other point, just subtract the velocities and subtract velocity make the term negative from the observer who is observing, that term will be subtracted. For example, here A is the observer. With respect to A means video in mind of A. So A is the observer. So whoever is the observer, just subtract his velocity. This is the simple trick to solve your questions. So you might have seen that mathematics may be difficult, maybe non-interesting, or maybe not of that origin which gives you a feeling. But physics is always enjoyable. It's about the nature around you. It's about observations. Mathematics is a language, so it may not be interesting. It may not be that much effective to you. But physics is always enjoyable. So make sure that you can manage to create interest in physics, because it's really interesting. It's very easy to think. It's very easy to be open-minded. You just need to get access to that dimension of thinking, and then you can systematically learn the languages. So whatever you feel difficult in physics, it's because of the language, because language doesn't have a feeling. It's just a collection of words and data. But make sure that you learn physics. Language you can learn by practice, by simple experiments, by systematic working, but make sure that you have the access to the dimension of thinking. So I hope it works for you. Thank you and have a nice day. Good morning everybody. I am Vishvendra, the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today we shall discuss about the equation of trajectory of a projectile. Suppose the motion is taking place in xy plane, and at any instant of time the projectile has a coordinate x, y. So the relation between x and y is called the equation of trajectory. So I am skipping the derivation. We just write equations of motion, basically the second equation of motion, eliminate time, and we get this result. Y is equal to x tan theta minus gx square by 2u square sec square theta. This can be written as x tan theta, and after simplification the equation comes out to be y is equal to x tan theta into 1 minus x upon r. Now let's implement that. Suppose at any instant the projectile is at point P, whose height from the ground is h. This distance is x1 and this distance is x2. This question has been asked in JEE exam. So using the equation of trajectory, y is equal to x tan theta multiplied by 1 minus x by r. So x corresponding to this point is x1, y is h, and r is h1 plus x2. So you just substitute the values and we get a result that h is equal to x1 h2 tan theta upon x1 plus x2. So this question can be solved within 4 steps if you know this result. So in this way you can solve question quickly. One more concept is there. Suppose I assume tan theta is equal to a and this entire thing is equal to b. So the equation reduces to y is equal to ax minus bx square. So this is basically equation of a parabola. So we can say that the trajectory is parabolic in nature. Now I want to know the range of the projectile. So I know at range y coordinate will be 0. So I substitute y is equal to 0 here, and I get either x is 0 or x is equal to a by b, which is equal to the range. So if question is given in this format, you can solve questions quickly. So you have seen that the entire turning point is storing information in your mind in a systematic and planned way. This is the only difference between a successful and unsuccessful student. So make sure you have learned the art of problem solving skills. Thank you and have a nice day. Good morning everybody. Myself Vishvendra, the founder of Optimal Success Trajectory. Today we will see how to express a physical quantity.